All right, everyone. So apparently we got our first look at the suit from Spider-Man Brand New Day. This is a video clip. Now, there are chances that this might get removed. If it does, we're going to be looking at the photos from the video clip as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at the clip and see if we can get an idea of what the suit looks like. I watched it on my phone. It was super dark. I'm like, I can't really see anything. So let's see if we can see it better here on my desktop. Here we go. Okay. Obviously highlighting the raised webbing and the deep red. All right, let's take a look at some of the pictures. I don't know if anybody's enhanced them or not, but let's take a look because I'm curious if there's any details that we're missing here from the video. All right, keep in mind this movie is scheduled to be released on July 31st, 2026. So that is the release date as of now, unless something has changed since the last time I checked. Anyway, you can see here we do have the raised webbing. It's less shiny and silvery than we've seen in the past. We'll take a look at some of those photos in a moment. I like the deep red and the muted, like MCU design in the fabric. I do appreciate that. But it seems like what this teaser was doing was it was getting us hyped for like a callback to the raised webbing on the suits. That really feels like that's what they were highlighting because they were going for the shadows, keeping it kind of dark so we could see the webbing and the shadows coming off of the webbing. So that's really all it was doing in terms of that. Now we do have some concept art we'll look at in a moment that is going to show us what the suit could possibly look like from a couple of folks over on Twitter. But let's go ahead and take a look back at some of the other costumes so I can talk a little bit about those and then how I feel it contrasts to what we're seeing in this photo, or this video, I should say. Of course, when you think about raised webbing, the first thing that comes to mind is the Tobey Maguire Sam Raimi suit from the original trilogy. Now, this was designed by James Atkinson. He was known for his work on Doctor Who and The Last Emperor. He led the design for the first Spider-Man 2002 film, and in sequels, costume design was handled by Deborah Lynn Scott. Started in Spider-Man 2, but James Atkinson remained on as a consultant. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name here. The thing we saw with this suit is the raised silver webbing. This added dimensionality made the suit pop on screen. It became a Raimi signature. Now, what I really enjoyed about this costume was the deep red and blue tones with the texture, the honeycomb-like pattern with the webbing. Now, the lenses were silver mirrored with a bold black outline, giving it like a bug look. I wasn't a big fan of these particular lenses. I didn't like how reflective they were. Now, look, back at that time in the early 2000s, the reflected lenses were probably really cool. And that's something that they probably wanted to go with. They wanted to like piggyback off of like the 90s era superhero movies by giving us something really graphic and really exciting. A fun fact about this one is the suit was so tight and complex to get into, Tobey Maguire had to be zipped in by multiple assistants, and backups were constantly rotated due to wear and tear during stunts. So yeah, very similar to what we remember from that Flash suit back in the early 90s TV show where they had so many issues with it and they pretty much got destroyed over time. Let's talk about the next set of costumes I want to discuss. All right, we're talking about Andrew Garfield. Now, these suits were designed by Kim Barrett, who did the Matrix movies. Now, the first suit did divide fans because of like the yellow tinted lenses that it had. I actually forgot about this, honestly, until I looked at the photos. Now, this suit was more sleek and sportier. It's like something a younger Peter Parker would probably get into. The webbing was thinner and more embedded into the fabric rather than raised, even though it did have a texture. The spider symbol was elongated and aggressive. It was more stylized, which I really liked. This is my favorite, like especially the very first one. This is my favorite era of Spider-Man suits. Although my favorite actual Spider-Man suit we'll talk about in a moment. Now, if we're talking about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, we had what is widely regarded as one of the best comic accurate live action suits, and I would agree with that. It's got the big, bright, white, wide lenses, which I think make the mask pop. It's very Todd McFarlane in that way. The webbed raising, again, it's still sleeker than the Raimi suit from Tobey Maguire suit, but it's still there, still present. The blue and red were much more vibrant than the first one we got from Andrew Garfield, and the classic spider symbol returned. It wasn't quite as aggressive as it was on that first film. I still loved the first suit, so just so you know. Now, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit took direct cues from Ultimate Spider-Man. So I do know, I remember during that time, a lot of people were calling it the Ultimate Spidey Live suit, which I didn't, I was like, yeah, it kind of looks like that, but I was one of those people, I just wanted it to be its own thing. I actually really love this suit. Again, this was my favorite for a long time, but there's one that's much more impressive to me now. Now, I don't want to go through each and every one of Tom Holland's Spider-Man suits. There's been a ton of them. There's been so many, right? And some of them I really like, some of them I didn't like. I think some of them have been over-designed. But what I will say is that our first introduction is sort of a nod to the classic blue and red Spider-Man suit with like a few little details added on. I did not dislike the first design. I do think it was trying to go in line with the rest of the MCU stuff, which made sense. Tony Stark, all of that, I get it. But I did want them to sort of pair back into something more like what we would see in the comic books, which I think that's what we're heading towards with this brand new day suit. But let's talk about my favorite Spider-Man suit out of all of the Tom Holland Spider-Man suits. And that is the black and red design from the second film. I think this is my favorite out of all of them. Something about this one just really pops. It's something we hadn't really seen in live action. It's a design that felt fresh, it felt updated, and it still felt old school at the same time, which is a really hard balance to try and get, is that updated feel, but also with all the classic nods. This was 100% hands down my favorite Spider-Man suit from the Tom Holland era. Let's take a look at a couple of concept arts done from people on Twitter, I guess on social media in general, for what the brand new day suit may possibly look like, and then we're gonna wrap this video up. All right, before we use this concept art as reference, I want to give a shout out to the account that I found it on over on Twitter, which is Amarana Players _players over on Twitter. This is their concept art. I just want to give them a shout out so that people know that they're the ones that did it. So this is like an idea of what the brand new day suit is going to look like. And imagine this with the raised webbing from the Raimi movies. And I think this is a good guess on what we're probably going to see. The colors look right. I love the spider on the back of the suit. Very classic Spider-Man. I love the logo on the front, the emblem, that spider. It's the right size. I love the shape of the belt with the pointy tip at the center. I love the way the boots look. If this is what we actually end up getting with that shiny blue, count me in. And I think this is a good guess because of what we see at the end of No Way Home, teasing us for what the new suit is going to be. And we know that we're going to start getting some set photos very soon with probably a good look at the suit, which I'm looking forward to. I don't want to get spoiled on everything with the movie, but I would like to see a little bit more of what the suit looks like in set photos. But remember, as we get into those, set photos are not indicative of what it's going to look like on screen. A recent example of this where people jumped the gun and got super upset and worried was the Superman movie. The suit ended up looking really good on screen in the movie, even if you don't like the collar and the cape, which I wasn't a big fan of that. Even if you don't, it still looked really good in the movie, and they fixed a lot of the issues that people had with it. So when we see the suit on set, if there's any minor issues with it, save it and wait. Don't get outraged. Don't lose your mind, all that on set. Wait until we see it in motion on film doing what it's supposed to do before anybody loses their mind about it. But this is the suit I would like to see. I would love for them to give us at least one Tom Holland classic Spider-Man suit, because I hope that we eventually move into that symbiote black suit with Secret Wars, and that we're going to get that storyline in the MCU. That would be excellent. Now they're no longer using Venom over at Sony, at least for the time being. I would love to see something like that. But give us one of these, just for one movie. I'll take it for one movie. We know how toys work. If we get this for one movie, we're not going to see this exact version again. They're going to do something different for subsequent films. Even if they're group films, it doesn't matter. There'll be something slightly different or tweaked about it because of toy lines. So we just have to accept that. Anyway, now that we've talked about it and we looked at all of the details and how it compares to some of the other Spider-Man suits that we've seen in the different Marvel films, what do you guys think about this? Are you excited for this new Spider-Man costume? Are you excited to see what the whole thing looks like? Do you think that people are going to appreciate this when they go into the movie? I know I'm going to appreciate a more street-level Spider-Man with a more classic costume. We know Punisher's going to be involved. All of this sounds good to me, so I am hyped for it. But let me know, are you hyped for it in the comments below? We're going to talk about this more in detail on Monday night's Nerdcast, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join us for our live streams every Monday and Thursday at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the Nocturnal Nerdcast. We'll see you then.